Good morning, students. We are going to continue with the play The Bishop's Candlesticks. And in the previous scenes, that is, scene 1 and scene 2, we have understood that the bishop helps the convict with food and shelter. Also, he comforts him by telling him that he is his friend and he will help him, as well as no one will trouble the bishop's friend. However, the convict, who has really suffered a lot, still wishes to begin a new life, and he steals the candlesticks of the bishop and he leaves the cottage of the bishop. At that time, we have already learned that he happens to escape and there is some noise. Thus, the sister of bishop happens to be alert and she asks the bishop to call the police. But in scene 3, we are now going to learn what happens next. There is a knock on the door, and in scene 3, a sergeant speaks from outside. Mongino, we have something for you. May we enter? And the bishop says, Come in, my son. So, in scene 3, enters sergeant, 3 policemen, and convict with his hands tied. And the sergeant carries the candlesticks. Presume at that time says, so you have caught the thief. The sergeant says, Yes, madam. We saw him sneak down the road a few minutes ago. He refused to tell us his name or where he was going, which seemed suspicious. Then, when we tried to place him under arrest, he fought us, and truly he is very strong. As you can see, we did manage to catch him. These candlesticks fell off out of his coat when we were binding his hands. I remember seeing them on the bishop's table, so we brought them directly here. Turning to the bishop, Mongino, if you could identify this man for us? The bishop says, I don't understand. This gentleman is my good friend. And the sergeant, who is surprised, and so he asks, Your friend? Bishop says, Yes, my friend. You see, he dined here tonight and I had gifted him the candlesticks. The sergeant is totally surprised. Gave him your candlesticks? Yes. Now don't think you should let him go, is what the bishop asks the sergeant. The sergeant says, Mongino, I cannot. He won't tell me who he is or show me his papers. The bishop says, He is your bishop's friend. Surely that is enough. The sergeant and the bishop look at each other for some time, and there is absolute silence. Neither of them speak. The sergeant then says, Let him go, men. Policemen untie their prisoner. Exits sergeant and policeman. There is absolute silence, and a long silence as Presume and convict stare at Bishop in amazement. The convict says, very softly to the bishop, "Why did you tell them that you gave me these candlesticks?" Presume shouts at convict, "You scoundrel, you rat! This is how you repay the man who helped you? By stealing from him?" Bishop tries to calm down even Presume and tells her, "Please, Presume, you are tired. Go upstairs." Presume, "And leave you alone with him? For what? To be robbed again? Perhaps even be murdered?" The bishop at that time, now a little firm, says strictly to Presume, "Leave us, and leave the candlesticks on the table, please." Presume looks shocked and she exits. The convict, who feels guilty at that time, says, "Monsignor, I cannot explain it, but I'm glad I got caught." The bishop tries to even calm him down and says, "Hush now. Won't you sleep? Your bed is ready." Convict, "No, I cannot. Besides, I must carry on. I need to reach Paris as soon as I can. It is a big city. No one will know who I am. There I can start a new life." The bishop agrees to this and he says, "You are right. Perhaps it is safest to travel by night." The bishop, who has just now comforted him, once again to this convict says to the bishop that he did not believe that there were good in the world also, and that one tends to forget that in hell. "Yet I know you are good. I know it is a strange thing to us, but would you bless me before I go? I think your blessings might help me." And the bishop murmurs his blessings on the convict. Probably he is just saying a little prayer and is trying to comfort him by giving him blessings that he will surely be able to start a better life in a new way. And the convict happens to become a little emotional and he cries, "Good night." He runs towards the door, but the bishop stops him and he says, "Wait, my son, you have forgotten your candlesticks." The convict is amazed and he says, "My?" The bishop says, "Yes, they can help you, please. Please take them." And the convict this time takes the candlesticks, looking a little amazed. The bishop then says, "Take the path through the woods, that is, through the forest, as no one will see you there." The convict once again cries, and he says to the bishop, "Oh, thank you, Monsignor. All these years I have been treated like a wild animal, and I had forgotten what it was to be treated like a man." The bishop just tells him, "Never forget, my son, this body that we have been gifted is actually the temple of the living God." And the convict, who is awestruck, he says, "The temple of the living God I will always remember." And the convict makes his exit. Bishop just kneels down to pray for another child-like person who had come to him seeking help. Dear students, we will now be doing a worksheet. This worksheet is about the little dialogue that I have put for of the bishop and the convict, as well as the set of 5 questions which all of you must do in your notebook. Thank you.